Pope John Paul II was born Karl Joseph Wojtyła in Wadowice, Poland, on May 18, 1920, 20 miles outside the Polish capital of Warsaw. Karl had a very normal, pleasant childhood, filled with acting, poetry, and sports, including soccer and skiing. Karl was also a very talented actor and starred in many school plays, often in the lead role. However, tragedy struck the Wojtyła household when Karl's mother died from heart and kidney complications when he was only 8 years old. Less than 4 years later, his older brother Edmund died of scarlet fever, leaving Karl alone with his father to grow up in a small apartment behind a local parish church. Wojtyła graduated his high school as valedictorian before attending Jagiellonian University in Krakow until the German invasion of Poland in September 1939. In order to avoid being captured and sent to concentration camps, Karl found work in a Nazi-run chemical factory for 1 year, until his father, Karl Wojtyła Sr., with whom he had a very close relationship with, suffered a heart attack and passed away when Karl was 21 years old. After his father's death, Karl decided that he wanted to join the priesthood, and began taking underground seminary classes. The classes were underground because the Nazis, who were occupying Poland, didn't allow the Poles to believe in the same things that the Nazis believed, since the Poles, like the Jews, were deemed as subhuman to the Nazis. Towards the end of the war, after the Soviet Union invaded Poland, Karl fled to Rome to finish his university studies, where he majored in theology. Over the next few decades, he rose amongst the Catholic community as a strong leader. He became a cardinal in 1967. 11 years later, he was elected pope by the College of Cardinals. He took the name John Paul II, and right as his papacy started, it was apparent that he was different from the popes that preceded him. This was shown by his visiting Mexico, Poland, Ireland, the U.S., and Turkey in 1979, the first year of his papacy. None of his predecessors had traveled to these places before, preferring to stay in Rome. In fact, he is the most traveled pope to date, having visited 129 countries during his pontificate. Over the course of his papacy, Pope John Paul II was a big human rights activist. He was firm with his beliefs against capital punishment and communism, and helped spread awareness for the Solidarity movement in Poland during Soviet rule. It is also rumored that John Paul II's actions led to the fall of communism in Poland and freedom from Soviet power. Pope John Paul II had a profound effect on more than just the Catholic Church. He was the first pope to have such a widespread influence. The fact that he was the pope of many other firsts is what makes him so different and interesting from his predecessors and fellow leaders of the 20th century. He was the first pope to ever travel to South America, where he visited countries like Chile and Argentina. He was also the first pope to ever visit a synagogue and mosque. In fact, John Paul II visiting the religious places of the other Abrahamic religions showed that he was the first pope to be so open to religions that weren't his own. Other than that, he was the first non-Italian pope in over 400 years. He also had the second longest pontificate in the history of the papacy, 27 years. He canonized and beatified more people than all of the popes before him combined. In 1981, during his second visit to Turkey, an assassination attempt was made against him by Turk Mehmet Ali Agca, who severely injured him. However, the pope survived and later forgave his attacker. John Paul II was very supportive of people in third world countries. For example, on September 19, 1995, Pope John Paul II addressed his standing with the Rwandan genocide. Although many influential members of the Catholic Church supported the massacre, and even aided in the massacres as Tutsis fled to churches for sanctuary, John Paul II addressed the refugees, and although not discussing the Church's opinion, said how, "What is happening in your country is a terrible tragedy that must come to an end." The Pope's Mass notified thousands of people all around the world of the conflict in Rwanda, which gained the support needed to end the genocide. On April 2, 2005, Pope John Paul II sadly passed away from circulatory failure caused by Parkinson's disease. Over 3 million people came to St. Peter's Square to mourn his death. Soon after his death in 2005, instead of waiting the minimum 5 years, the Catholic Church declared Pope John Paul II a saint for his actions during his papacy, and for 2 miracles he was credited with following his death. Even before the start of his papacy, it seemed that Pope John Paul II would have an immediate influence over the Catholic Church. He helped aid millions of people all over the world who his predecessors would have ignored. His power and voice led to the fall of communism and other oppressive governments in many parts of the world, and also caused massive reforms to be made to the Catholic Church.